Okay, so I also use Blackboard pretty extensively in my Writing 121 class. And what I found is that after having taken the hybrid workshop class, that I wanted to find a way to make a better use of the discussion board, much like what David was suggesting in terms of getting students to engage in times when they're not in the classroom, and really also trying to draw out reluctant participants, people who aren't really typically motivated or able or interested to contribute in class to some kind of a discussion. And so the quarter after I took the hybrid workshop, I really tried to develop as many ways as I could to get students to engage in discussion board in communication between each other. And I found that through what I sense to be some of the limitations for my needs in discussion board drove me to look for another kind of a way to get students to engage with each other. Ultimately, what I was trying to look for was a way that students could write in conversation, meaning that they could, in the process of during the task of invention, where they're trying to form ideas for writing, that they could get some discussion with peers that would help influence the decisions that they made. I also wanted for them to have some kind of peer-to-peer learning, to develop as much of a cooperative learning environment as I could, where students would be able to learn from each other. So they'd be able to get feedback on their ideas and their writing from peers rather than directly from me. I think sometimes that maybe is more effective depending on the situation. So those are two things I really wanted to do. The third thing is that I wanted to find a way to integrate some multimedia content into my writing assignments. And part of the challenge in that, for those of you who've tried this maybe through print writing, through writing assignments that are print-based, is that you are often forced with giving students a long URL and saying, go to this website, and then asking them to take that and take it back to their writing and do their writing someplace else. It's a bit of jumping around, and it's a bit of asking them to follow the links around. Well, through what I've done with my class blog, I think I've been able to incorporate at least these last three things to some extent. And I'll try to walk you through my class blog and show you what I've done. I integrated the class blog into my Blackboard site. And I did that because I wanted to have a standard interface for students to not feel like it was something separate from existing technology, the existing course technology that we were using. My hope was that it would help to keep them from being terribly anxious about something new. In writing class, and Writing 121 especially, with a lot of young students, they're already anxious about writing. And I didn't want them to feel anxious also in addition to that with the use of a blog. So I created just a standard WordPress blog, and I used the external link feature in the course content menu that you can use through Blackboard. So Blackboard allows you to post external links and then call it whatever you want. So I posted just an external link to our class blog, and I titled that link class blog. So students now on the Blackboard page can click here, and WordPress, and I've got a handout that I meant to give out, and I don't know if it can just circulate. Oops. WordPress is one of two really popular and widely used blogging platforms. And for me, I was looking for something that gave me a theme that built upon students already, the practices they're already familiar with in their use of technology. So I wanted a theme that gave me something like a Twitter or Facebook status update. Now it's hard to see that here because I have to log in. But once I log in, you'll see the prompt that they're given when they come to the blog. So when they come to this blog, they get one of those standard prompts that says, "What are you doing?" or okay, for some reason it's not loading up here. If I go back to Blackboard. So they get a standard prompt that says, "What you up to?" or "What are you doing?" And this is customizable. And what they're able to do is they're able to post some kind of a status update, which my intent was that they would be able to keep in touch with each other on the process of working on their assignments. So while they're going through drafting stages, revising, and when they're just in general discussing some of the short assignments that I've created, that they would be able to just communicate sort of back and forth. A student can post a status update, And in posting that, it gives them a platform for somebody else to comment on that status update. So now someone else in the class has the option of clicking on reply and offering some kind of a reply to this comment. So this particular theme lets me do that. It lets me build upon what's a really familiar practice for them, which is updating a Facebook status or a Twitter status, and also gives me the opportunity of letting them do standard blog posts, where they would put in a title, for example, if they're responding to a homework assignment. And then they can put in their full response, including links, including videos, and including music that they find online. So if they want to include some multimedia content as part of their response, they're able to do that. To give you some sense of the assignments that I've been using, I've done homework assignments here, traditional homework assignments that you would normally have students print out and bring to class. I've been having them submit online. So it gives me a chance, like I said, to incorporate some multimedia content. It gives me a chance to not have to lug around so many homework assignments, right? I'm able to do this relatively paperless. And I can give comments on the homework that they submit basically any time of the day that I want. I can, for example, on this section, recently we were working on research questions. We were having students post the research questions that they're working on as drafts to the blog. And what would happen is that I would give a response, and someone else would be responsible for giving a response too. So part of your assignment for this homework is to go online, post your research question to the blog, and to comment on someone else's research question. And what happens when it's something like a research question is you get comments about the topic. So students are getting a chance to see some potential objections from someone other than themselves. They're getting a chance to test their ideas and validate whether or not their research questions can be fruitfully pursued from someone else's point of view. And then I get a chance to chime in too, and really quickly and easily just give them a sense that I'm aware of what they're working on, and give them some correction immediately if they need it, but just give them encouragement to proceed with the question that they're pursuing. So that's one of the assignments I've done. The other thing that this has been particularly effective for is introductions. During the first week of class, when you're looking for a low-stakes assignment that can get your students writing and that can get them communicating with each other, you can have them post to a class blog their introduction of themselves. Now these introductions are much longer than they would be if they were done in class. Usually it's 2 seconds. I'm Jeff and I'm an English major, and that's pretty much it. But here I get a chance for students to get to know each other a little better. They're just like before. They go online and post their introduction, and they offer a comment in the form of a reply. And so reading through, some students figured out they went to the same high schools and didn't know it. So 2 students figured out that they both grew up in the same part of Honolulu and didn't know it. So a lot of connections were built in that first week, and in the process, students became increasingly familiar with how to use the blog in a very low-stakes way. Yeah, you know what I did is I posted a sample of an introduction. So I introduced myself, right? And in a similar way, I did this for the first homework assignment. So I started the very first post to this blog as how to get a WordPress account. So that's the first step. Students have to get a WordPress account. Then they have access to the blog and they can post whatever they're interested in. I then had them post their introductions through a prompt and a sample. And then for the first homework assignment, I had them do something similar, which is that I had them post their homework, but I gave them a sample of how I would respond to this homework assignment. And I felt like it was a good transition to the first seriously graded homework assignment, was that now that you've had a chance to explore how the blog works, what I want you to do is to follow this sample and actually contribute something that's graded work. And what I wanted to emphasize is that it's important, I think, at the start to start with low-stakes assignments, things that aren't worth a whole lot, again, to not compound their anxiety about using a new technology, and then also to have a good mix at first of formal and informal assignments. One of the anxieties that I experienced from students, from their perspective, was that they saw blogs as an informal means of communication. And here I was in a writing class where they considered to be a formal environment, and I was asking them to do some writing. And I think that there was some conflict for them as to how they should treat the blog. And it was good to have a mix at first of informal and formal assignments to show them that this medium can do both, can be both formal and informal. And I mean, I think realistically, it's something that I'm still working on. I'm still trying to develop assignments that make full use of what's here, but I definitely appreciate that I have quite a few options in terms of creating assignments and also giving students access to the responses of their peers, to the homework assignments of their peers, to show how others are working through the same problems that they're working through in a way that maybe is beneficial for them to see how someone responds to the same problem.